Intel looks like they're done being scared and are bringing back a market segment that they had abandoned. AMD's next generation CPUs are upon us, about to slap Intel for whatever hope they had. And then RTX 3090 Super releasing before the end of this year. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your host, Brett. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast, maybe a cup of nice hot coffee, and let's jump on into the tech news. First up, starting to talk about Intel and their resurgence into the high-end desktop market. This is something that they gave up over the past generations of CPUs, with their last high-end desktop launch being the 10980XE, which was a rehash of the 9980XE, which was a rehash of the 7980XE, which was Skylake. So that's the last time we actually had one. And now there's new indications that Alder Lake should see the recomeuppance of high-end desktops, with X699 being spotted in some of the driver supports for Intel's next generation CPUs that are expected to come out. This is a big deal because it looked like they completely ceded the entire ground of the HEDT market to AMD, either because they thought AMD was better or it was something that wasn't worth competing in and wasn't worth their time. But that latter idea is clearly not the case, because it looks like Intel is going to be jumping right back on into it. And I'm going to jump on into talking about today's episode sponsor. My friends, I got meat in my hands. And do you know why I have meat in my hands? Not for that reason, but talking about ButcherBox, who these are cold. I'm going to put them down. Hopefully, like the last time I did this ad spot with frozen meat, I don't forget to put it back in the freezer, and then we have spoiled whole chicken and ground beef. My friends, ButcherBox is the meat delivery service that I use exclusively for my family. I make sure that meat shows up at my doorstep. And literally today, I got my meat delivery, and we have meat for the entire rest of the month. It makes it so that I don't have to go to the grocery store. I don't have to plan for it. I can just know that my ButcherBox is coming in, and it's more than affordable, coming in at less than $6 per meal. And they make sure that they're partnering with the right farmers in order to get you the highest quality meat possible, whether that's 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, pork, raised crate-free, and wild-caught seafood. You can either customize your own box or choose from one of the many boxes that they have available. This is only a very small selection of what we got in our ButcherBox. A whole chicken, and then a couple things of ground beef. There was more ground beef, and there was more like ground chicken that we actually ended up getting in our ButcherBox, with some chicken breasts as well. So in case you want to try out ButcherBox, you can do so at the link in our video description. And when you sign up for free, you're going to get 6 burgers, 8 hot dogs, and up to 3 pounds of chicken breasts. Again, that's for free by just using our link in the video description. Big thanks to ButcherBox for sponsoring today's episode of Hot News. And I will remember to put those back in the freezer once I'm done talking about hot news, okay? It's meat for breakfast, my friends. Let's get into the meat of AMD's next generation CPUs, which look to be crushing Intel. We are getting 3D V-Cache CPUs. Next generation EPYC Milan X leaks have started to pop up. And not just leaks of the fact that we're getting 64-core Milan chips that are now going to have AMD's 3D V-Cache technology, which they showed off back at CES, which makes it so that AMD CPUs just stomp the floor with Intel's, which they're kind of already doing in the server environment, but now they're just redoubling those efforts. However, it's not just that we got the understanding that there's going to be a 64 core, the 7773X, which is going to be the flagship, all the way down to the 7373X, which is going to be 16 cores, but now we have indication of the price because a business-to-business retailer listed the Milan X chip on their website for $10,476.99, which is a lot. But again, think this is a server chip. You're buying high-end of high-end. This is not like everyday pleb, you and me, trying to buy this. And in fact, that's only roughly a $1,000 price markup from the previous 7763 Milan chip, which is the current 64-core flagship. So that's roughly a 10% price increase, a little bit more, in order to get what is expected to be, which is expected to be roughly that same amount of performance gains in whatever applications that you're potentially using that V-Cache in. It's also going to have more L3 cache, so it does look like the chips are going to get slightly more pricier. Obviously, this is the first listing, so this could be a mistake. So they're just trying to get in early and get a lot of orders, and the price will come down as it's officially launched by AMD. But if this is an indication of the 5900 XT or the refresh version of the current 5000 gen Ryzen series CPUs, then we shouldn't expect too bad of a price hike in order to get much better performance that's going to make it so that you have the best gaming chip known to man. And the best currency known to man is Darn right. Bottle caps. Let's get into the Crypto Stunks update. Bitcoin down 3% in the last 24 hours, down to 47,371, which, by the way, the website that I use in order to pull these prices did a complete update. I think it looks amazing, especially with the dark mode. We got Ethereum coming in down 2.79% to be at 31.29, and Dogecoin slipping and sliding 6% to be at 27 cents. GameStop not slipping and sliding, going back up 2.79% to close at 205.22. It's had a killer week. We're gonna see how it continues to perform. There's some indication, which like always take these with a massive grain of salt, that something's supposed to be going down on September 1st. We'll keep an eye out on that. AMC, however, sliding down 8.3%, coming down from its high of roughly like $46 to close at $40.31. So still up from where it started the week, but down from where it was high over on Wednesday. Speaking of things that are high, Tesla rolling out a new refreshed version of their mobile app with new UI and a whole bunch of stuff to show off how you can control your electric car, and they now have widgets that make it a lot easier to control your electric car. I, however, do not have the updated UI. Catlin, zoom in. Okay, zoom in more. Now zoom it. Yeah, I have the old one. It sucks. Boo-hoo. And what did suck was Electrify America's support for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but now it doesn't because they're finally rolling it out so that you can actually see the location of Electrify America chargers on your freaking car dashboard, which, like, why is this only happening in August 2021? I'm glad they're doing it. Better late than never. As Halo Infinite, better late than never, especially with it not coming out with co-op mode. Well, now we have the PC spec requirements. In order for the minimum spec, you need an FX 8370 or an i5 4440, which is a great chip, by the way, and GPU needs to be an RX 570 or a 1050 Ti, and then the recommended specs are coming in at Ryzen 7 3700X with the 9700K, and then a RX 5700 XT or an RTX 2070. But we know you don't want to game Halo, you don't want to play on an Xbox Series X, you want to play on your phone while you're pooping, while you're watching hot news, while you're eating breakfast. That's the life that you're living. Multiple smartphones, multiple experiences, all at the same time. Content consume me daddy. All right, Netflix, however, revealing that the way that they're going to roll out their gaming stuff is not through a subscription thing like Netflix, where you like consume it through a portal, I guess is the word that I'm looking for there, but rather you're going to download them. This is coming out from Netflix's rollout of Netflix gaming in Poland, where you had to log into a new gaming app, which then you had to pick which game you wanted to download, and you had to make sure that you were signed in, and then when you download the game, you could log into your Netflix app to make sure that everything's good. Netflix is saying that they're streamlining things, but you have to download the game, and it's only available on Android at the current moment. It doesn't look like it's rolling out to iOS. So Netflix gaming kind of a weird mixed bag, and SSDs appear to be a weird mixed bag right now. We've talked about in previous episodes of Hot News this week how other SSD manufacturers have been caught out for swapping components that make their SSDs slower without disclosing that to consumers. And we've also talked about in 2 episodes earlier this week how Samsung is doing a bunch of anti-consumer things, but not necessarily this time. Samsung has been found to be caught swapping out components on its Samsung 970 EVO Plus SSD, which is its flagship PCI Express 3.0 SSD that's out there. However, the thing to note here that they're doing differently is that they're disclosing the fact that they've changed it, all right? That's something that is being reported by Samsung. It's not being found out by media outlets after the fact. So that's number one, a good thing. And then number two, it appears that the changes are a bit of like a weird combination of both better and worse. So the raw like read-write speeds on the new 970 EVO Plus are actually slightly better than they were before. However, they are significantly worse when you run out of your SLC cache, which is around 40 gigabytes of usage. So previously, after you ran out of the SLC cache, the 970 EVO Plus would throttle down to 1500 megabytes per second. Now it throttles down to roughly 800 megabytes per second after 115 gigabytes of write. So it's better in some ways, it's worse in other ways, but most importantly, Samsung is disclosing what they are doing here, which is, I think, what consumers generally want. They're going to be able to know, hey, when I buy this specific version of the 970 EVO Plus, I'm getting this feature set, even if it's worse, right? Like, we can understand that there's some chip shortages going around and that things might not be as good as you could possibly want to make it, Samsung. That's fine. Disclosing it to us, thank you. What do you think of Samsung's 970 EVO Plus being weird? Let me know down below in the comments, and let me know what you think of your favorite content creators, or you could just let them know directly by paying them. Streamlabs now rolling out a monthly tipping service as an alternative to Twitch's subscription or something like YouTube's memberships, which we don't have activated at all here. But with Streamlabs, you can now have a monthly recurring revenue that you pay out to your favorite content creator if that's something that you want to do. And then the amount that's taken is just something, I believe it would just be the PayPal fees at that point, not the 50% that Twitch or the 30% that YouTube takes. And I'm gonna give NVIDIA 100% of my money, all right? RTX 3090 Super rumors are coming in, and obviously take these with a grain of salt. We haven't heard much rumblings from NVIDIA about them releasing anything this year, but there's some indication that we might get a fully unlocked GA102 GPU, which will have 10,752 CUDA cores, draw roughly 450 watts of power, cost more than your mom, and have 21 gigabits per second memory, and then also launch this year. This is obviously rumors coming out from a well-known leaker saying maybe the RTX 3090 Super might happen this year. If any super card happens this year, it will likely be in just disappointment. Super disappointment this time, because there's still no stock. I mean, Best Buy had 17,000 cards at physical stores yesterday, and you know what happened? Gamers lined up around the block, and then they went home with nothing. A lot of them did, because there's still way too much demand for the supply that's coming out. So let's launch more cards, newer cards. It's the greatest thing. Let's just keep launching cards, all right? Let's ignore the fact that anything's going on in the world right now, and let's just continue to do our normal marketing spiel so people don't forget about us, so that people continue to give us their money or continue to give us their mind share, regardless of the fact that whether or not we could sell them anything, we're going to make them feel like they're missing out. And that's the most important thing. Capitalism, my friends, and I want you to capitalize on the fact that this episode of Hot News is over by going to watch yesterday's episode of Hot News, where we talked about PC prices are probably going to go back up. It's not looking good. TSMC has to raise their prices. And go watch yesterday's episode of Hot News. I'll see you on Monday. Actually, you know what? We're doing something a little bit different. I might see you tomorrow for breakfast, my friends. Cheers. I'm totally putting the meat in the freezer now. I'm not forgetting.